obviously there's an exodus from the black church, right? For the last 2 decades. Do I've noticed, I want to hear what you have to say to this, right? Do I've noticed now many black people are identifying themselves as Israelites? Have you noticed this?
Uh, we've always had a strong Hebrew movement in Black America. Would I say that there's been an influx within the Hebrew movement? I would say yes, especially since the Kyrie Irving debacle with the NBA and the way those Hebrew brothers came out and stood in solidarity for him outside the Barclays Center. Also with the Hebrews to Negroes book that was at the heart of the Kyrie Irving controversy. I think that had a lot to do with the influx towards the Hebrew movement. And of course, you got different sectors of the Hebrew movement, right? You got different ones. I ran into one of the leaders of the Hebrew movement in Chicago last month. I'm forgetting the brother's name, but he invited me to his restaurant, which I'm definitely going to go to, but I haven't made it to yet. I mean, for me, depending on what set we talking about, I'm okay with the Hebrew movement because not all Hebrews reject African ancestry. I know of one group, they specifically would tell you we are African Hebrew Israelites. You know, the way that I see it, under the African umbrella, we have all kind of religions, we have all kind of cultures, we have all kind of ethnicities. So I don't have a problem with the Hebrew Israelites being one of them. The only issue I would have with some of the Hebrew Israelites is when they say we are not from Africa or every African in America is necessarily a Hebrew. I think that's too broad of a generalization. I am not so arrogant as to profess that I don't have any Hebrew blood within me, but I also tend to know my family's ancestry and I know that we're from Africa, you know, and we don't come from kingdoms that are Hebrew, although I may have an ancestor who may have been. Because after all, we got what? 4 grandparents, 8 great grandparents, 16 great great grandparents, 32 great 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 grandparents, 64 great 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 grandparents. You know what I mean? So as you go further and further back and your ancestral pool widens, I don't think it's a hop, skip, and a jump for me to sit here and say I'm probably sure that I might got a few Hebrew ancestors in there. But at the end of the day, we are African people. And for me, that's my primary identity. But I ain't got a problem going into a Hebrew temple. I ain't got a problem studying with them. You know, for me, being a Pan Africanist, you know, our whole agenda is unity of the race. So if I need to spend time with the Hebrews to further that agenda, if I need to spend time with the brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam, if I need to spend time with the gods and earths, if I need to spend time with the black socialists, aka African internationalists, you know, if I need to spend time with the Nawapians, I can go amongst any religious, cultural, or political movement and be at peace because at the end of the day, no matter what people believe in or profess, we all came from one source. We all came from one ancestor, and everybody knows where that ancestor was, and that's Africa. And it ain't no way getting around that. So I'm okay with it. My thing is diversity should be appreciated in the black political struggle. And I think too often people are looking for people to be robots. They think everybody should be a cutout of them. I'm not into that. You know, I tell people all the time, I want to make you think. I don't necessarily need you to become a Pan-Africanist. If you think I'm still better off than where I was when I started with you, my thing is, can we work together? We don't have to agree on everything. We have to agree on certain things. The enemy is when somebody says, unless you pray as I pray, I can't work with you. Unless you become this, unless you believe in this, you going to hell. Or, you know, being African don't matter, you know, or we're the chosen ones and the rest of y'all are not. Anytime that religious narcissism gets in there, now I got to step away because what you preaching now is going to push us further apart. It's not going to bring us together.
What do you think is the origin of what you refer to as religious narcissism? Because I want to say one thing for you start. I am aware that, especially with Christian denominations,
Mm-hmm.
the people who are members of it don't know the origins of it
Mm-hmm.
and don't know the short term of it. Like they
Yeah.
don't understand like this just started the other day.
Yes.
But why do you think people really have this like, man, like if you're literally not a part of this, you're going to hell?
I believe one of the reasons is this. We know that the origins of Islam, Christianity, the Hebrew faith, nearly every religion, if it's ancient enough, it came out of African culture. We know that. Muhammad ibn Abdullah was a black man. His mother was a Sudanese Arab. His father was from the tribe of Quraysh. They were one of the blackest tribes in Mecca. Undisputedly, he was an African. We know Christ was, okay? We know Moses was. He was taught in the ways of the Egyptians. Had to be blue, black, purple with a nappy head. The problem is, even though these religions originated in our culture, they were colonized by non-Africans for a period of time and given back to you. One of the things that happened in that colonization period, because these religions were used as instruments of conquest, the aspect of tolerance was done away with because they used them as instruments of social control, right? So when the various emperors took over, if you did not believe in Jesus as the Son of God, you lose your life. When the Arabs took over North Africa, if you don't say Muhammad is the last prophet of God, we taking your head off. So there was no room for these religions to coexist with any other spiritual system. So when the religions came back to us during slavery and post-slavery, we picked up that religious narcissism with it. We picked up that lack of tolerance with it. We interpreted the religion from the aspect of imperialism as these non-Africans used it as a weapon of imperialism. That's why you have black people say, if you're not saved, you ain't saved? Boy, you're going to go to hell. If you ain't saved, I can't be bothered with this. Is this a Christian organization? Right? Same thing in the Muslims, because I was raised Muslim. They just as religious and narcissistic. You know what I mean? Are they Muslim, or is this a Muslim thing? Is this Islam? Because if this ain't dealing with the Quran, I'm not going to be bothered with it. I remember I was at a meeting at the Garvey House in North Philly with two Muslim elders who I respect. They're both ancestors now. Both ancestors. They came in there. We had an initiative we was putting together. I think it was to stop the violence, right? These are two well-respected Muslim leaders, American African Muslims. You know what the leader said? He's an ancestor now. Rest in peace. You know what he said? He said, because this is going to be an all-black initiative, I'll never forget this. He said, because this is going to be an all-black initiative, my religion doesn't allow me to be part of anything that will only allow black people to participate. That is the problem with religion. It does not prioritize the needs of African people. Most religionists care more about the success of their church or masjid than the liberation of African people.
And there's something else I want to add on with the what you refer to as religious narcissism. I noticed with black people, because we're so disenfranchised, we kind of gave up on certain participation in society, and we use the religion now to justify, to say, hey, I can't participate. It seemed like you have one up on somebody.
Oh, for sure.
You get what I'm saying?
That's
so
the narcissism.
I can't. Yeah, it ties into the same.
Yeah.
It's like I can't fully partake in American society, but I'm not going to hell because I'm a Christian.
Yep.
And you're going to hell because
absolutely.
So
they'll throw it at you in a minute.
That's the game.
And it ain't just the American Africans. It's global with us. Yeah. And sometimes it can get worse the further you get outside the continent. So, for example, when I'm building with my East African brothers, me and one of my Somali or Eritrean African brothers had a heated conversation because he kept trying to put the Islam over the Pan-Africanism. And I said, bro, we all come from different religions. You can be Muslim, but you cannot expect all of us to become Muslim in order to struggle. You see what I'm saying? No, give everybody their right to build their relationship with God as they choose. He couldn't see it because he was a religious narcissist. Religious narcissism says it's my way or the highway. If you ain't down with the Muslims, if you ain't down with the Christians, if you ain't down with the Hebrews, then we have no need for you. God has no need for you, and the struggle has no need for you. Religious narcissists believe that their flag has to be on top of everything that they do. And you must obey and bow to that flag, or you have no place amongst their struggle. And we don't suffer because of what we believe. We suffer because we are African, because we are black African people. We're the original man and woman, which precedes any religion. We was around before Moses. We was around before Abraham. We was around before Muhammad. We was around before Jesus. So why are you trying to limit me to that? Let's go back further than that. Y'all not the first people. Let's go back further than that. You see, and the further back you get, the more inconsequential you'll see your religion is. We're not dismissing it. We're just saying it's one amongst many. Christianity became as influential as it is around the world because it was forced on people and because it was a religion of the state. Islam became the second most populous religion around the world because it was forced on people and it was a religion of the state. See, African spirituality was never the religion of a state, of a modern state. You see what I'm saying? So these other religions, which are just as sophisticated and have just as much to offer as Islam, Christianity, and Hebrewism, they never get that type of attention because they were never forced on people and they never served as religions of the state. The state spread Christianity for political reasons. The state spread Islam for political reasons. But like you said, they don't know that history. So they assume the reason there's more Christians in the world than anybody else is because of the power of the message of Jesus Christ. Not at all. It's because the power of the guillotine of European kingdoms.